High School was on lockdown this morning for a while after 2 chemical bombs exploded, one in a school foyer near a stairwell and the other in a nearby church parking lot. Investigators say they're questioning 2 students about the bombs. Witnesses described the explosions as minor and no one was hurt, but officials haven't released any damage estimates yet. 2 massive earthquakes near Indonesia had locals scrambling for higher ground in the wake of tsunami warnings. The quakes registered at more than 8 on the Richter scale, but they didn't end up causing tsunamis or any major devastation in the area. People as far away as Thailand and India felt the tremor and were on tsunami watch as well. Indonesians say the warnings were reminders of the tsunami in 2004 that killed more than 230,000 people, and they say they're thankful this one passed them by. Santorum has called it quits. The GOP contender made the announcement Tuesday, telling his supporters that even though he's suspending his campaign, they are not done fighting. Campaign officials reported they were nearly $1 million in debt last month alone, and they say competing any further would put them in the poorhouse. After the dropout, it didn't take long before Gingrich asked for Santorum's support.
I would love to have his endorsement. I was grateful to get Governor Perry's endorsement.
Analysts say Mitt Romney now has a firm grip on the GOP nomination and can focus on his general election against President Obama.
Former presidential candidate Rick Santorum isn't the only one with money concerns. The Gingrich campaign paid $500 in March to be on Utah's ballot for the June primaries, but a bank just notified the state that the check bounced. State officials sent a letter to Gingrich's campaign saying if they don't pay the fee by April 20th, Gingrich won't be on the ballot. In an effort to unseat Senator Orrin Hatch, former Utah legislator Dan Lillenquist is campaigning with $300,000 of his own money. But that may not be enough to outmatch Hatch, who has more than $3 million in the bank. Recent polls also show Hatch has more than 50% of Utah's GOP delegates' support.
Police released video of the January shooting in Ogden that killed 1 officer and injured 5 others. The dash cam video obtained by the Standard Examiner shows the moment the shooting started right after authorities went to Matthew Stewart's house to serve a search warrant. Stewart's defense says the footage doesn't clearly show who shot whom, and they want to ensure that he has a fair trial. Stewart is facing murder charges, and if the jury convicts him, he could get the death penalty. If you've tried to find your favorite mobile food truck and couldn't, the Salt Lake City Council may have a solution. The City Council is discussing an ordinance that would allow the restaurants on wheels to park in public stalls for up to 12 hours. But there is a catch. The mobile food trucks would have to remain at least 100 feet away from other restaurants.
They don't want the Delta. That's why a group of people in Provo is urging the Utah County Commission to make the land around the mouth of the Provo River a protected agricultural area. But June Sucker Recovery Project officials have latched onto the land as part of their effort to save the endangered fish. Landowners surrounding the Delta want to keep the area in their control, and if the commission sides with landowners, it would make it harder for the Provo River Delta Project to turn the area into suitable breeding ground for June suckers. Financial trouble may mean postponing marriage for students around the nation. A recent economic study found that credit card and consumer debt is decreasing, but student debt is growing, and because of it, college students aren't getting married or starting families. But at BYU, students say it's a different story.
I'd get married tomorrow if I could. It's just finding the right one. It's difficult. I'm not going to postpone marriage for anything, though.
Experts say the economic downturn hit students harder than any other age group, and BYU students say they feel financial strains of college just like other students. But they say at BYU there are factors other than money, like travel and the single life, that put marriage on the back burner.
A recent federal study says that autism rates in Utah are climbing. Utah offers these kids medical help, but insurance won't pay for it. 11 News reporter Rosemary Card found out how this is affecting families.
In some ways, we knew something was wrong.
The Passy family will always remember the day doctors diagnosed their daughter with autism.
She wasn't pointing, she wasn't talking, and so we just wanted to know what it was. So in some ways, it was like, oh, finally, we know what's wrong. But at the same time, it was devastating.
A recent federal study says that autism rates in Utah have reached a record high. 1 in 47 children suffer from the mysterious disease.
Families with autistic children are joining together to make sure their kids get all the help that they need. And the Utah Health Department says they're doing all that they can to provide for so many children. But early detection is key.
Officials say there are telltale signs like pointing, for parents to look for as soon as their child is born.
The earlier we can catch them, the earlier we can get them into treatment. If we wait until the school age, they've lost a lot of those skills, and it's very difficult to make up that ground once they're in school.
Passy says those medical services are a luxury that she and other families can't afford because Utah doesn't require insurance carriers to cover autism.
The one thing that will make the biggest difference to families in Utah is insurance. That's it. It's horrible to know all these therapies are there that will change my daughter's life, but we can't get them.
In Salt Lake City, Rosemary Card, 11 News.
The federal study also says that Utah has the highest rate of autism in the nation. For more information about autism in Utah, click on Rosemary's story on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Still to come on 11 News at noon. Bluetooth bovines, how technology is making milk cheaper, and why BYU students are at the front of this techie herd.
And Recycling Rally. It's a massive collection of harmless junk and dangerous chemicals. We'll tell you why this organization wants your recyclables when we get back.
A team of BYU students called Legendary created software that could mean cheaper milk.
This is Muhana.
Using an ear tag, scanner, and Bluetooth, a farmer can access a variety of information from milking schedules to vet visits. And they can do this quickly from anywhere on or off the farm. This means more efficient care of the animals, and dollars saved in the barn is money saved in the grocery store.
If a cow gets sick or there's some kind of disease, we can identify really fast what other cows were around that cow, and essentially allowing us to quarantine the problem and address it quickly and easily.
Team Legendary is the cream of the crop, and they're headed to Seattle just hours after graduation next week to compete in a national software competition. If you want to find out more information about Legendary, go to our website at 11news.byu.edu. A local organization is working to keep hazardous waste out of houses and landfills. 11 News reporter Adam McNevin went to the recycling site to see what happens to these chemicals.
These piles of old paint cans, chemicals, and oil drums came from homes in Utah County. Habitat for Humanity, a nonprofit organization, asked homeowners to get these things out of their houses and into recycling facilities. They say that they will take just about anything.
We've had people come with containers with just a whole bunch of weird stuff dumped in them. We've had refrigeration units taken off of old motorhomes and brought in full of Freon.
People drop off hundreds of gallons of household poisons. Hazmat teams and student volunteers help sort the waste. Then specialist recycling companies package it and take it away.
The volunteers here are students from BYU. I personally volunteered because of a class.
One new thing that the organization is collecting this year is something they call e-waste, like old televisions, computers, and other electronics.
Public health officials say more than 300 cars drive through on the collection day.
We'll probably generate probably about 40,000 pounds of waste that we'll remove that would be in the landfill if this event wasn't going on.
This was the 5th year that Habitat for Humanity organized this recycling effort, and they say they hope to see more people come in the future. In Provo, Adam McNevin, 11 News.
Habitat for Humanity will hold a smaller collection day on April 28th for those who missed the event on Saturday. You can find more information on our website at 11news.byu.edu.
Students rally against racial graffiti. UCLA admissions makes a big mistake, and mountain resorts in Vermont enjoying more white stuff. Here's your look at news from across the nation. Ohio State University students rallied against racial intolerance on Tuesday. The rally came after someone spray painted the words "Long Live Zimmerman" on the school's Black Cultural Center building. The graffiti was a reference to the Florida neighborhood watchman accused of gunning down 17-year-old Trayvon Martin in February. And UCLA admissions office is backtracking after making a big mistake. Nearly 900 high school students received acceptance letters to UCLA last weekend. The students told friends and family, celebrated, and started making plans just to find out their acceptance letters were a mistake. The school accidentally accepted students who were on the waiting list. The school immediately sent out letters explaining the mistake. And skiers and boarders in Vermont received an unexpected surprise. as 19 inches of new powder covered the slopes. Vermont usually doesn't get this kind of snow in April, and one mountain resort even reopened its gondola to celebrate. Visitors hit the slopes and enjoyed the powder with a smile as they said goodbye to the snow season. And that's your look at news from across the nation. Kara?
111 News at noon returns. Ranch reform. These cowboys are actually criminals working to turn their lives around. We'll tell you how this ranch is saving taxpayer money. And getting us scared, texting and walking could be dangerous. Why this man stopped texting and started running when we return.
A Utah preacher wants to break the cycle of crime by teaching former inmates his cowboy ways. But as 11 News reporter Lydia DeFranchi shows us, his dream ranch has yet to hit pay dirt.
Reverend Richard Green learned grit and discipline growing up on a ranch in Nebraska.
I'm usually up around 5 o'clock, 5:30. That's just the way life is with me.
Now he directs Utah County's Reentry Assistance Program, known as REAP, and he wants to apply those principles to help former criminals get back into civil life. He's purchased land in remote northwest Utah, but he can't get federal grants to build because that money can only go toward paying rent. Here at Utah County Jail, inmates already work outdoors, planting vegetables they then donate to local food banks. The new rehab ranch would take it a few steps further, raising cattle and using innovative greenhouse technology for farming. Then it's off to evening classes and counseling.
Green says it's all about helping people help themselves by becoming independent, getting away from negative influences, and most importantly, learning the value of hard work.
Perhaps the most unique aspect of the project is that once it's up and running, the proceeds could entirely fund Utah's Reentry Assistance Program.
We won't have to be looking for hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to sustain people.
And getting independent funding is becoming urgent. Last year, REAP's housing facility almost had to shut down. While helping so-called bad guys tends to be on the bottom of most people's priority list, for Green, who was a prison chaplain for years, it's a labor of love.
It is so disheartening to talk to the people that are trapped in the drug and the judicial system, that they're trapped, there's no way out.
This man says Green's dedication changed his life.
I don't know where I'd be without him. This program gives people structure, gives them the ability to put something solid under their feet.
Claybaugh got off drugs and regained custody of his son. Now he too is giving back, and he plans to continue working as a counselor for the program. In Springville, Lydia DeFranchi, 11 News.
Because so many clients don't go back to jail after going through reentry assistance, the program has saved Utah County more than $5 million in jail costs alone. Reverend Green says he's as determined as ever to get the ranch going, and now he's looking for private sources of funding.
It's an absolutely beautiful last day of classes here in Provo, but can the rest of the week measure up? Let's take a look. It's so pretty and green outside the Mazer building. Currently it's 66 degrees with partly cloudy skies. 23% humidity and a southeast wind at 14 miles per hour. Going into tonight, our low won't be too low, just 45 degrees, but we could see some late rain showers. Our sunset is creeping later into the night and won't go down until 8:02 p.m. Our 5-day forecast for the Wasatch Front shows us this nice weather won't hold out much longer. Today we'll have a high of 76, just beautiful, but tomorrow through Saturday will be rainy with highs in the 50s. Come Sunday, though, we'll start to dry out again and the temperature will warm up a bit to 61, getting warmer through the beginning of next week.
Well, hopefully those April showers bring us May flowers.
Yeah, I'm excited to see those pretty flowers. And Sean, the Jazz are facing their second Texas Team of the Week tonight. What's in the forecast for them?
That's true. It seems like the Jazz have gotten quite a dose of the Lone Star State recently, and they've all been big games, too. And honoring Cougars, the best of BYU sports were on display last night at the Y Awards. Sports is next. Stay tuned. It may not be the Emmys or the ESPYs, but the Cougar Club honored the accomplishments of BYU athletics last night at the Y Awards. All in all, the Cougar Club gave out 23 individual awards, including Best Male and Female Athlete. Cougar track star Miles Batty ran away with the Best Male Athlete. The All-American broke the collegiate record for the fastest mile at the Millrose Games earlier this year, and that effort earned him the Y Award for Performance of the Year as well. Senior basketball captain Kristen Riley took home Female Athlete of the Year after leading the team in both points and rebounds and being named West Coast Conference Player of the Year. The Cougar Club also honored BYU's 3 national champions, runner Nichelle Mackey in the 800-meter, and both the Cougarettes and BYU cheer squad. And the Jazz are gearing up for what could be their biggest game of the season, and it's tonight. They're in Houston to take on the Rockets, and a win would put them right back in the middle of the playoff hunt. Utah's in the 10th spot in the West right now, 2.5 games behind the Rockets, who occupy the 6th seed. And there's 2 other games with playoff implications for the Jazz tonight. And if Utah wins, a Memphis win over Phoenix would put the Jazz in 9th, and a Minnesota upset over Denver would pull the Jazz within a half game of that 8th and final playoff spot. And BYU softball will look to start a new home winning streak tonight as they take on UVU. The Cougars are looking to bounce back from a tough loss to Idaho State on Monday, while the Wolverines lost 8-7 at Utah State last night. The two teams have similar records, with BYU sitting at 24-12 and UVU is 24-13-1. First pitch is at 6 p.m. at Gale Miller Field. The University of Arkansas fired head football coach Bobby Petrino. Petrino was in a motorcycle accident on April 1st, then lied to the athletic administration about the presence of a female co-worker in the accident, as well as his relationship with her. Coach Petrino was 34-17 in his 4 years at Arkansas. And turning to Major League Baseball, the Miami Marlins have suspended manager Ozzie Guillen 5 games for his comments to Time magazine in support of Cuban dictator Fidel Castro. The Time article began with Guillen's quote, "I love Fidel Castro," and went on to talk about his admiration for how long Castro has been able to remain in power. The Miami area has the largest concentration of Cuban Americans in the country, and Guillen's words could alienate that huge part of the Marlins fan base. One Cuban American group is already calling for a boycott of the club.
Still to come on 11 News at noon. Bear business. A man texting his boss to say he'd be late had a really good excuse. Who or what he nearly ran into when we get back.
A man looks up from texting to find himself almost nose-to-nose with, get this, a big black bear. The Los Angeles man was walking out of his home, texting his boss to let him know he'd be late because of some kind of commotion going on outside. He looked up, saw the 400-pound bear, and took off running. Wildlife officials finally captured the bear using 3 tranquilizer darts, then sent him back to the wild. The bear didn't hurt anyone.
That would sure be a scare, looking up.
I know. Oh my gosh, thank goodness that
teach you not to text and walk, that's for sure.
Seriously. Just turn and run the other way. That's 11 News at noon for Wednesday, April 11th.
You can join us anytime on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
And we've had a great semester. Thanks for watching us.
And we'll see you again in the fall. Thanks.